Hello, Sarah of SEK Handmade here, and you guys, I am so excited to introduce you to my Quinlan collection. Before we dive in, I want to tempt you to stay around until the end where I'm going to share a special discount code where you can get all of these patterns at a really great deal. Let's dive right in and start off by talking about the inspiration for the Quinlan patterns. I started off my journey as a crochet designer as a knitwear designer. Once I got more comfortable with crochet, I quickly went from just designing knitting patterns to thinking I was going to cross over and be a crochet and knitwear designer. My plan was to mimic patterns in both knitting and crochet so that no matter whether you knit or crocheted, you would have the same pattern to work on essentially. I'll be honest, I had tiny little people at the time and I did not get very far on this dream. I very quickly switched to keeping knitting to just my own personal hobby and dove headfirst into crochet pattern design. This year, however, I plan to come back to my roots and really focus in on crochet color work. There are lots of ways to work color work in crochet, but I am especially drawn to working color work in crochet with the waistcoat stitch. This stitch really mimics knitting, which I already said I love, and gives really nice, smooth color work, just like you'd see in knitting patterns. When I decided that I wanted this type of color work to be a focus of mine this year, you know that my first thought was, how am I going to help make this easy and accessible to people? I'm so excited to share with you that I think I have done just that with my Quinlan patterns, starting with my Tier 1 patterns. The Quinlan collection is going to have 2 Tier 1 patterns for you to choose from. This fantastic cozy pattern, like all my cozy patterns, is small and easy to work, froggable, and the perfect way to really start off your crochet color work journey. But I couldn't leave it at just one pattern because these bags are some of my most favorite patterns. So I have a fun little zippered bag pattern, zipper in the top, no sewing required. And this is another great way to tackle a small project that is totally manageable and will help you improve your color work skills. Another one of my most favorite pattern are cowls. You may have noticed I am constantly throwing them on in the winter to keep me cozy. So for my Tier 2 patterns, I have 2 cowl styles for you to try out. First, I have my traditional cowl. That's going to start with a ribbing at the bottom that looks like knitting, which I am super excited about. It also means that you're working this straight from the bottom to the top and you don't have to come back at the end and add your applied ribbing. Then you're going to work up in this gorgeous color work, do some more ribbing at the top, and you're good to go. I also have this really stunning twist pattern. It's worked in the round as well, so it's super cozy. You can twist it around and see all the different sides of it. It's got no right side or wrong side to it, which really shows off this gorgeous yarn that I'll talk about in just a minute. You'll notice that all 4 patterns feature a variation on the same stitch pattern, making them all coordinate really well, but also perfect stepping stones to each other. You can really get in a groove with this color work. That groove that I was talking about is exactly what I wanted for this pattern. I wanted something with really modern, clean lines, but that could also have a nice repetition to it so that you could get in a rhythm and really fly with this color work. All right, let's talk about this gorgeous yarn that I used in my Quinlan patterns. I used 3 different yarns to create all of my patterns, and they are all just amazing to work with. First, let's talk about the black yarn that I used in my cozy and my traditional cowl. You guys, this created such stunning and bold contrast. I'm gonna need to buy more of this yarn. This is Worsted Merino Superwash by Plymouth Select. It's 100% superwash merino and contains 218 yards per 100 grams. I used 2 of my favorite colorways in the traditional cowl. This orchid color at the top and the bottom, which is really stunning and coordinates super well with my other yarn here. And then in the colorway black for that nice contrast. The lighter gray in my twist cowl here is one of my favorites, Malabrigo Rios. It is also 100% superwash merino, 218 yards per 100 grams, and this colorway is Cape Cod Gray. The number on that, 429. Now, I know what you're thinking. Okay, Plymouth Select, Malabrigo Rios, we've used those yarns before, but what is this gorgeous color changing yarn? Let me tell you, I stumbled across this yarn when my local yarn shop owner first brought it into the local yarn shop, and I absolutely fell in love with these stunning changes from pink to blue. They are just amazing. This yarn is called Making Tracks, and it's by an American company called Junction Fiber Mill. All of these are made with the same colorway of Making Tracks, and you can see how really nicely it shifts between the colors. I'm absolutely in love with this colorway. It's called Vermont Vice, and frankly, purchasing more of it may become my vice. If you work with this yarn, I do highly recommend it, but I want you to be aware it does go a little thick and thin. I did not find that to be a problem in making my patterns though. It is 100% American wool and has 210 yards per 100 grams. All right, let's talk hooks. You guys, working in the waistcoat stitch is a fine line between having your stitches tight enough that you don't see colors poking through in between your stitches, but having it big enough that you aren't killing your hands fighting against your stitches trying to make every single stitch. I think I found a really great happy medium with a USJ10 6mm hook, and you're gonna need that one hook for all of these patterns. All right, let's talk customization. In some ways, customizing color work can be super easy, but in other ways, it can be a little challenging. If you would like to add especially to these patterns and their graphs, I might recommend going and getting some grid paper and really sketching it out so that you can have a clear idea and visual of the changes you want to make. There are lots of tips and tricks for adjusting these patterns within each of the patterns, and I just want you to know that every single one of my colorwork patterns has full charts. It's a great visual of how the stitches and colors all line up and where to place each colorway. But I know that there are some people who are very averse to charts, and so I've also given complete written instructions for each of the patterns. While customizing for size is a little trickier in color work, customizing for colors is a dream. And if you're thinking, I want to work from my stash and I don't have a fun color changing yarn like this, that is totally okay. I really encourage you to play with color on this pattern. You can see that there are lines that go all the way around the whole entire pattern. Working in between each of those in a different color would be a great way to get a similar effect with different yarns and not investing in buying all new colorwork yarn. Though if you do want this, I again must recommend Junction Fiber Mill's yarn. I think these two also show great examples of high contrast, low contrast, and what that does to the color work. You can see the color work just fine with this pattern, but the contrast between the lighter variations of the Junction Fiber Mill yarn and the lighter Malabrigo Rios yarn just don't give quite as much contrast. This guy, on the other hand, with the super dark yarn and the more bold variations of the Making Tracks yarn, really give a high contrast and a really stunning visual. But you can see how that then shifts around my twisted cowl, which goes between really good contrast in some of the darker places, and a lower contrast in some of the places where my color changing yarn gets a little lighter. Neither is better than the other, high contrast versus low contrast. It's all just a matter of personal preference, and I really encourage you to play with that to see which you like best. The cozy's a great place to play with color combinations. All right, let's talk how to wear your cowls. You might be thinking, Sarah, it's just a cowl. How complicated can it be? And frankly, you're right. But there are some fun things that you can do with both of these cowls. I just want to give you a few suggestions so that you can play around with these and get a lot of wear out of these gorgeous patterns. The twist cowl is worked flat in a tube of gorgeous cozy color work and then twisted at the end to give this really gorgeous twist. I would like to point out that you don't have to put the twist in if you don't want to. I really love the twist because this makes it super easy to wear. You just throw it on over your head and you can put the twist in the front, and it really cozies up around your neck and gives you this really gorgeous, fancy twist in the front of your cowl that really also shows off different colorways depending on how you twist your cowl around. Of course, you don't have to wear the twist in the front. You could throw the twist in the back and have a more traditional looking cowl that stands up nicely on your neck and even like sits away a little bit. This would be great for going outside in the snow. You can just tuck your nose in there. Doop, 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 a doop, doop. Put it on right side up. For the traditional cowl, you can just throw it on like a traditional cowl up over your head. It stands up so nice and tall. It'll keep you really lovely warm. And of course, you can just scrunch it down a little bit to keep it away from your face. But also, don't forget that this has really nice height and can easily be folded over to make it stand up a little more and give you like a little double layered effect that also really shows off the color work because it has it stand up a little higher. And then, since both ends of your color work are different, you can see I've got like the hot pinks and the yellows. This is a little more cool with the teals and the blues. You can fold up each end, and it gives you a totally different looking color palette. Lots of fun. You know I love a good shawl cuff, and they're not just for shawls. They're also great for putting around a cowl, and it kind of squishes it down on one side, making it almost like a little bow. You can just kind of zhuzh it around so that it kind of looks like a little bow here in the front, which gives it a really fun detail that you can either wear centered like that or off to the side a little bit. This is also great if you like need the cowl outside where it's really chilly and you want it up around your face, but you're a person who tends to get hot once you go inside. You can put the shawl cuff around and it kind of keeps it away from your face a little bit. Thank you so much for sticking around to the end and joining me to learn about the Quinlan collection. I am so excited about these patterns. As promised, I have a special discount code as a little thank you to you. I have a special bundle of all 4 patterns made on Ravelry. With one purchase, you can buy all 4 patterns all at once. And for a few days, I'm going to give you a special extra discount code to use. Starting today, January 2nd, all the way through January 5th, you can use the special code Color Craze to get an additional amount off the pattern bundle. Between the already discounted price of the pattern bundle and this coupon code, you're going to save a total of $6, which is like getting one of the patterns completely for free. The other great thing about the bundle is that it is the only place that the Cup Cozy pattern is available. Thank you again for joining me. I hope you love adding crochet color work to your repertoire of skills. We're going to do lots of fun things with it this year. I would love to see your work, so be sure to tag me or send me an email with your pictures. It always brings me so much joy. Thank you so much for joining me today, and happy crafting.